Okay, welcome to today's info clip. Um, Today we're going to be looking at how SAP Solution Manager can be used to improve the traceability of your SAP system documentation. Now, the objective is to not only provide an understanding of how system documentation can be completed for your SAP solutions, but also to provide you with a demonstration of Solution Manager's powerful traceability functions. Now, system documentation is often a mandatory for implementing your SAP solution, and it's always something that needs to be done. Now, if you're working within a regulated industry, for example, the pharmaceutical industry, you have a lot of very strict regulatory requirements over the validation of your computerized system, i.e. SAP. Now, generally, enterprises will use many different methods for documenting their solutions. Some companies will use the standard ASAP approach. Other companies will use their own approach based on their best practice. But generally, one of the situations that you find is that you will have to maintain documentation in an original MS Office file. You will also need to maintain a traceability between the business process that you're trying to define and the documentation itself. And sometimes you may even have an added complication because you have manual documentation as well that you need to maintain. So often traceability is dependent on the administrators that are maintaining the traceability spreadsheets. So for example, if a member of the project team is documenting a business process in a requirement specification, somebody will then need to link that documentation that's maintained in a document management system to a business process that's being executed in SAP. Now, this is, like I said, a very complex and time-consuming process, which always is difficult to realize in implementation projects in a regulated environment. So, very nicely now, SAP Solution Manager provides you a semi-automated process for maintaining your system documentation in a traceable and transparent way. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just to show you in SAP Solution Manager just how simple it is to maintain traceability within the system. So we're going to start off by going to our business blueprint in Solution Manager, and I have a project which I've documented, which is actually very short and simple because we don't want to overcomplicate things. So within my business blueprint, and I have a business blueprint for a project that I'm trying to realize within my SAP solution landscape. So within this project, I've got to find the business scenario, which in this example, we're going to use a sales from stock scenario. And then upon this scenario, I have multiple business processes. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're very quickly going to create a document for our customer quotation processing process. So we're going to define a requirements specification. We're going to set the documentation type that we want to use, and the documentation type is very important because assigned to a documentation type is a document template that the system will use. Okay. So we've put our title in and we've selected the document type. What the system will do now is the system will present us with a document that we can actually start typing in. So we're going to call this customer quotation processing. and we're just going to maintain some text here. Okay. So this is our document. We save our document. Okay, and the document is now saved. So what we now have is we now have a requirement specification for this specific business process, customer quotation processing. Okay, so from SAP, what we've done is we have defined the business scenario and process structure that we want to use. We've documented now a requirement specification for this process, and you can see that this is in fact the document that I modified. Okay, so you've automatically created traceability between the document that you're maintaining and the business process structure. Okay, so from here, for example, in this, one of my colleagues has in fact created a user requirement specification for warehouse management picking from outbound delivery. So let's just see if we can see this document. This document has actually been released in the system, so it should be approved for release. And the system now tells me that this is the document and that the document has been signed for the release of the document. Okay, and in here, this is then the requirements that specify this process. So it really is that simple just to create a document in Solution Manager. So you only need to document from one place instead of maybe using 2 or 3 different systems to not only create the documentation and to manage the release of the documentation, but also you may need to use an additional system to maintain the traceability. And in this example, we have it all from one place. Okay, so just to summarize then, the key benefits for Solution Manager in this area is Solution Manager provides you with a consistent approach to documenting your project by using document templates that you can define when you set the project up. Now, you've seen just how simple it is to maintain documentation, and you've seen that there are no duplicate activities. Okay, it's just very simple. Go to the business process, click on the project documentation tab, click on create new or change, and from one place you can then maintain the documentation. Okay. The system provides you with strict controls over the maintenance of your document, so only authorized individuals are able to change the documentation. Okay, and you can see that the traceability is radically improved, and it's not very time consuming to create this traceability between a business process and a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet that describes the system that you're trying to realize. Okay, so the conclusion is that SAP Solution Manager provides you with an excellent, transparent tool for managing system documentation, to see configuration objects, to link a business process to a development objectives and to testing documentation. So it's never really been this easy to link one business process to a set of documentation. So that concludes our info clip. If you have any questions, you're quite welcome to email us and we can provide you with additional information. Thank you very much for your time.